if you eat a sugary meal, you take some berberine and it blunts the glucose spike. We say basically to take it before bed because a lot of people eat late. If you eat late, you more times than not can have a decent amount of glucose left in your blood. So you take berberine and it can deal with that.
If every single month PMS wrecks your mood, your relationships, you start breaking out, this episode is for you. My partner had breast tenderness, mood swings, and breakouts every single month. That was the usual. And it wasn't until I brought this broccoli sprout supplement called sulforaphane that it completely changed her monthly symptoms. Her next cycle was totally different. No pain. Her mood was steadier. Her skin had no breakouts, much more uniform, the best that I've seen it. And then what happened? She stopped all her supplements for hormonal tests and everything started creeping back. So I knew what was happening and I wanted to contact the experts. That is why I brought David Roberts and Dr. John Gildea from Mara Labs to the show. We talk about estrogen, microplastics, blood sugar, the hot new supplement for weight loss, and it's not called Ozempic, it's called Berberine, and why most hormonal supplements do not even work. If you want clearer skin, fewer PMS symptoms, and weight loss, it doesn't feel like a fight, this episode is for you. All right, everyone, a very special episode of Heal Thyself. I have David Roberts and Dr. John Gilday. Do you guys even know that Mara Labs is an incredible company with incredible products? I'm going to tell you a little bit about what had happened with my partner. We're talking about it off screen, but I want to welcome you both to the show. Hello.
Thanks so much for having us. It's great to be here.
This is awesome.
Oh my God. Look, we're talking hormones. We're going to talk blood sugar. I want to talk about Ozempic a little bit, weight loss, acne, everything that people are suffering with and sending me DMs on. But before we do that, you guys ready for the hot seat?
Absolutely.
Okay, you ready to go? Okay. What is the biggest mistake people make when they do detoxes?
Yeah, I'd say they just do a phase 1 detox and they don't do all 3 phases. And so they end up getting something like the detox flu where they mobilize a lot of toxins, but they can't clear them.
I want to talk about the detox flu a little bit later because I like the name of that one.
Do I get to answer it too?
Yeah, heck yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I see is if people aren't aware of how many toxins are in their environment, if you're going to do detox, I will always say try and limit your toxin exposure before you try to detox, because if more is going in than you're getting out, you're still going backwards.
Yeah. A lot of companies out there have little detox boxes. I want to talk about those later too. All right. What is the most important compound for liver detox?
I mean, for sure. What you do is you go after the master transcription factor that turns on detox. So that's called NRF2. And so if you asked the literature and you could get a clear answer from that, it's like whatever induces NRF2, you're going to detox. And so the best inducer of NRF2 is sulforaphane, which is in broccoli.
And sulforaphane doesn't just help with liver detox. Every cell in our body has NRF2 detoxification built in.
Amazing. Okay. This I heard before, and I want to clear it by you guys. All right. Is Berberine nature's Ozempic?
Wow, what caveats?
Social media says so.
Social media says so.
Yeah, I would say it is not, but
Yeah.
it has. I can see why they say that.
Yeah. Why would you say that it would be, in a way, like Ozempic?
So it's hitting the same strings. Say you were pressing a piano. Ozempic is one finger really hard, and it does exactly what it says to do. But do you really want to smash one note as hard as you can? Berberine, when you formulate it correctly, is more like a chord, and so you're not getting things that produce side effects, and it's making GLP-1 in the natural way, so it's on the right amount of time, and then turns off just like it would in normal cycling of your hormones.
Okay. What is one supplement right now in your eyes that everyone is loving but maybe wasting their money on? It's not really doing anything. It's just trendy.
We might get in trouble here.
That's right. That's why it's the hot seat.
We've gotten sued before.
Is that right?
Are you feeling hot seated?
Is this too hot seat? We could shift.
I mean, I'm gonna pass on that.
Okay.
Awesome. So I'll take the berberine one. So there's a lot of studies that just plain berberine does things clinically, with the dose that they're talking about. But the downside of it is it's unbelievably difficult to absorb. And so the things that are bad about berberine is that they're affecting the microbiome. So some part of that is good. If you have SIBO, if you have overgrowth in your small intestines, then it can really help. But in the case where you have a good microbiome, it's going and possibly disrupting some of your own microbiome. And our formulation is much lower dose, and it's absorbed. So it's absorbed in the small intestine and doesn't go down and mess up your colon.
And real quick, since he answered it broadly, I was thinking he wanted a specific supplement. Broadly, broccoli supplements, all broccoli supplements except for ours are basically the precursor molecule called glucoraphanin, and they may put an enzyme in there that may or may not transform it into sulforaphane. Basically, I say if you are getting those, you're wasting your money. You might as well flush it down the toilet. Broccoli sprouts are much better to grow those. Ours actually has a amount of sulforaphane in the capsule that turns on NRF2, and we've shown it.
Amazing, science-based. I got one more question before the hot seat is cool down.
Okay.
Most women's hormone problems aren't X, they are.
Wow.
Why? I'd say microplastics.
Microplastics.
Oh, super cool. Can I change? No, I'm just kidding. So going through perimenopause and menopause, people think it's at first loss of estrogen, but at least for the first while, it's rapid changes in estrogen that is sort of driving the initiation. I think that's kind of one of those unknown things, and what's causing that major fluctuation in that period before you're actually in menopause is kind of a central feature that is not really addressed well.
Amazing. All right, off the hot seat. It's cool down now. Before we even go into anything, I was saying off air, and I want the viewers and listeners to know, one of the big reasons that I wanted to have you guys on the show and talk to you about the products across Mara Labs is my partner, Claire. She suffered with very tender breast around her period, moods going up and down, and her skin would change. Not really bad acne, but she would just have skin changes, some breakouts. I recommended a few things. I told her to definitely do the broccoli sprouts, but she hates the taste of the broccoli sprouts.
Oh my gosh.
She tries, and then sometimes, I'll open the fridge and I'll be like, she bought these broccoli sprouts last week. There's mold growing under it already. She's not even using them. So I gave her one of the bottles that y'all sent me, and she did 1 month of it. That's it, just 1 month. Her period was completely different. Her breasts were not in pain. I know her mood was different because I reaped the benefits of that. And she was so happy with her skin across the board. Now she's going to do a hormonal test. So she stopped it for a moment and everything started coming back. So she's like, I can't wait to just get back on it after my hormonal test. So I just wanted to tell you both how
great.
amazing that product was. The broccoli product really changed her life.
My favorite part of that story is doing Koch's postulate. Like, it's really sound science. People don't think you can do N of 1 science.
Yeah.
But you can if you take one thing, you see results, remove it, goes away.
Yeah.
It's like pretty solid.
She's consistent with everything, the way she eats, the way she works out. That's the only thing that changed. I see her behaviors, so it's really cool. All right. Get off the hot seat. Welcome to the show. I really appreciate you both and what you've been doing with Mara Labs. David?
Yes.
You were doing what before you decided, let me just start a company that changes people's hormones, blood sugar, and to do everything that y'all are doing?
Yeah, so I was caring for my wife who had breast cancer. So she was diagnosed in 2012. My boys were 1 and 3, and we actually grew some, with John's help, grew some of her cancer cells in our lab. So we were with a different supplement company at the time, and he found out that sulforaphane from broccoli was number 3 in directly killing her type of cancer. And so went out to try to buy it. Couldn't find it because all broccoli supplements are the precursor molecule. So we started growing, and the reason for that is that it's not stable. You can try to harness it, but it degrades. And so we started growing broccoli sprouts ourselves, enough for like 10 families, and we juice them every day, and just did that for years. And I think John and I would have lunch regularly, and I'd quiz him on cancer, and I made the comment, I'm like, I really wish there was a stable form of sulforaphane in a capsule. And like 2 years later, over the same lunch, he's kind of matter of factly, he's like, yeah, I stabilized sulforaphane. And I'm like, what? And so we had it tested, and sure enough, he had stabilized it. And since we were both with a different supplement company, we were like, well, we'll just deal with this later. But Mara was like, we need to get this out to people because they need it. And so she started raising the seed money for getting it out there. And then she took a turn for the worst and died. And so after she died, it was sort of this moment of clarity. It was just like, we're doing this. And so we did 7, we're almost on our 8th year.
Wow, beautiful. It comes from such a beautiful, I always say that pain can drive so much of passion and process to help so many. My mom died of breast cancer in 2011.
Oh, wow.
So
Sorry.
I was not aware of all of this stuff. And in retrospect, I go, wow, I just wish I knew about it. But I was just getting into nutrition at the time.
Yeah.
But I worked in oncology. I did my residency in oncology. I used to specialize in breast cancer.
Wow.
And when I would do the hormonal testing, every single patient who had estrogen receptor positive breast cancer, their estrogen levels would change. It would go down the pathway of the healthy estrogen. For those viewers and listeners, there's estrogen that can be problematic to your genes, and there's one that's a healthier pathway. And broccoli sprouts were really doing it. I became such a fan of broccoli sprouts. So thank you for sharing the genesis of all of this. It's incredible. So sulforaphane is very delicate, correct?
Correct.
And you stabilized it. Why is it so delicate? Is it heat delicate, light delicate? Are the enzymes just breaking it down immediately? What's going on?
And just to jump in, it's trade secreted. And so mainly we decided to do that instead of patenting it because it's really, really, really hard to make.
Yeah.
And in communities where their labor is really cheap, we thought that it might be ripped off essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that in mind,
Yeah.
can you answer?
Yeah. So the part of my background is working in a lab where you have to handle chemicals all the time, and it was always frustrating to me that you would buy a chemical, cost $500 or $600. You would open it and use it for a test, and then there's still 98% of it left in the bottle.
Yeah.
And you'd put it back and then bring it out. Next time you'd use it, it has no activity. And there's so many chemicals that are like that. In complete isolation, without protection, many chemicals degrade. And sulforaphane is one of those. And, there's a number of reactive chemistries that are on sulforaphane that make it very, very reactive. And so you just systematically do that. And it's not a miracle. It's taking care of every possible angle. That's sort of what I do wherever I go. Is I always say I have a few things that I'm good at, and the reason I'm good at it is because when everybody else switches on to another subject, I just keep thinking about it and can't stop thinking about it. So I'm kind of ADHD like that, like maybe the opposite.
Well, ADHD, we can focus.
Oh, wow.
We can focus on things that we
that's good.
want
So
to
that's
love and that are exciting and novel. So we stay focused. But so when someone's eating broccoli, if they take it out and they cut it and they chop it up, is sulforaphane activated?
Yeah, so basically that mastication or cutting, or just if you're breaking the cell wall in broccoli sprouts has the enzyme, which is called myrosinase, that basically converts the precursor molecule glucoraphanin into sulforaphane. And so that's why some of these companies, if they harness the glucoraphanin, they'll add myrosinase. And the idea is with those two, you put it in your gut, and it kind of magically combines. Well, in essence, that enzyme is probably already inactive by the time it gets to the gut. If not, your stomach acid is really good at digesting proteins. So enzyme is a protein, and so basically that's why I said you're wasting your money. You may convert 5%. The literature says up to 30%. But that's in perfect kind of lab circumstances, and in real life, you're just. It's. I look at it. I talk about it like, it's like if all the world's coffee were decaffeinated. It still has a little bit of caffeine in it, right? Like 1%.
Yeah.
And so everyone is like, this is the best coffee. But then you introduce a fully caffeinated coffee, and they're like, wow,
Different.
It's And so that's the difference between the precursor and a stabilized form, which is like broccoli.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier about berberine. You don't want too much of that delivered to your colon. And the majority of, if you take the precursor glucoraphanin, it's actually enzymes in your colon that are able to break down that molecule and turn it into sulforaphane. But sulforaphane is antimicrobial, so you're literally making it in the place where you're trying to support growth, and it's against that. So there aren't directly experiments showing that, but it's not the place where I would preferentially make sulforaphane if it was my design.
Yeah, nature's design's incredible.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
And I love that you guys are so locked in on optimizing and having the best product for really everything. But I think so much about hormones and hormonal issues that we suffer with. One of those driving forces is microplastics. How does broccoli help with detoxification of microplastics?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important just to talk a little about microplastics in general. Like, so we flew here to meet with you. We're at our hotel, and this morning I get up and I can get coffee, right? So the coffee in the hotel room, they have a water bottle that's plastic, and people think, the water bottles are sort of the culprit. It's one of them, but then you have the coffee pod, which is plastic, and when it's heated, tons more plastics come out, right? And then you put it in the paper coffee cup, and that paper, it's paper, right?
Yeah.
No, it's lined with plastic,
Right.
and so you have the water, you have the pod, you have the cup, so you're getting a nice sized, microplastic exposure. Tea bags, those nylon pyramids. Have you seen those? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Silky.
So those are silky. Yeah, they're nylon, and those actually 2 billion is up to 2 billion microplastics in one cup. It's like massive. If you are microwaving your food in sort of a frozen, like a frozen meal it has plastics in it, or if you made it and you stored it in plastic, you get a ton of microplastics that way because of the heat. And so that's like you're exposed to it. You're exposed to it even more through the air, actually. And so when it gets into your system, it's not neutral, right? It actually it gets into your system, and if it's small enough, it gets into your cells and gets engulfed by this vesicle called a lysosome. It's basically the digestive system of the cell. It digests microbes, it can digest foreign particles, but basically the lysosome the digestive material in the lysosome isn't designed to digest plastic, right? And so it just sits there. Now the microplastic itself it's not inert, it's not neutral. It is actually like a sponge. It's very porous, and it has the reason plastics in general can bend and aren't brittle is that they have things called plasticizers like phthalates BPA, which is an estrogen mimic. Okay, and so, but you can also have heavy metals in there. Like, you can have all sorts of toxins, and so that microplastic sits in that vesicle and starts secreting all this stuff, and your body can't get rid of it. And so, this summer, we were able to. John stumbled on this guy who we didn't know, who used broccoli. This guy, John Budvig, out of North Dakota. He basically did an N-1 study on himself, and he showed for the first time that broccoli was able to mobilize microplastics. And he basically is a lysosome expert, and so he had this theory that basically the sulforaphane could dissolve the lysosomes to release the microplastics for excretion.
Whoa.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
We were like, hey, we want to get to know this guy.
Yeah. Big study. Find out like what's happening inside there. Because microplastics, that's a forest fire in our whole body. Is that the biggest threat environmentally, you think, right now?
Wow. I mean, it's the newest one for sure.
I think it's so new. I think so. I mean, I think John and I talk about this a lot. As I learn more, it's like an onion. It's like it gets worse and worse. It's just like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
oh my god, you know.
Yeah.
And so the more I read about it, the bigger a problem I see it as.
So I think the the framing of it is so important that you have to do both. You have to say, why would you be interested in trying to get rid of microplastics? And as soon as you build that picture of it blocking the toilet, like, you can't have a house without getting rid of the waste. It's produced in a cell. There's proteins that are misfolded you have to get rid of. The lysosome has lots of functions, and these microplastics are filling up the drain, like in every person. And because it's in the air and the water and the food that we're eating, it's really difficult to avoid. And so, probably, I don't know how sciencey we want to get here, but I could probably make a little analogy here that would be helpful. Is we talked about NRF2 earlier. That's the master transcription factor that turns on a whole bunch of genes. Antioxidant genes, they're called AREs, antioxidant response elements, and then detox genes. It turns on all the detox pathways. But the mechanism is sulforaphane goes in between two proteins that are held together by cysteines. It's just the way that they're formed. And the way it releases NRF2 is sulforaphane gets in there, blocks these cysteines, and releases it. And so it goes on to do its thing. Normally, that's turned on by reactive oxygen species, but sulforaphane turns it off directly by covalently binding to it. So it's acting like an antioxidant, but it itself is not an antioxidant. So it does the same thing for another completely different protein that's in the lysosome, but it goes on and does that same cysteine trick, turns it on, and that whole pathway is called this LAMP2 dependent exocytosis. So it turns the whole lysosome and everything that's in it, dumps it outside the cell. So all the microplastics that are in that lysosome are fused with the cell surface, and it dumps it outside of it. And so it's used as the positive control in cell experiments, sulforaphane is, to initiate this phenotype, this function inside cells. So the same way it works on NRF2 and it has this really famous long history for doing that, it's actually doing in this other pathway as well. And it's very understudied, but very central in all the microplastic circles. And so there's other pathways that can support it, and we can talk about that. But the featured molecule is sulforaphane for getting rid of microplastics.
Yeah, and going back to the question of, is it the problem? It's a big problem, because if you have, let's just talk about estrogen and hormones, right? If you, like, insulin's a hormone. If you eat a sugary meal, there's a signal that tells you to produce insulin, and it deals with the glucose, right? That signaling, when you have a lot of microplastics, it's like it's like are watching two TV shows on top of each other. The signals, you can kind of tell what's going on if you kind of focus on one. But it's basically a lot of the microplastics and the estrogen mimics like BPA that come from the microplastics it's like noise on the signal of your natural like hormonal system.
Yeah. So, and it's just wild to me that we, as human beings on this earth, are being exposed so much to it. I remember there was that CDC study that showed that 90% of people, it was like a 2,500 person study, had BPA in their urine. You know, so and it's metabolizing, detoxifying within like 24, 48 hours, I believe. But it's just incredible that, wow, within that window of time, all those people, or majority of those people, were being exposed to plastics. And then that was years ago, and now people talked about it more. People talked about it more. I mean, for me, it's like the signals you were talking about hormonally, for our bodies told to detox efficiently. What happens when all these microplastics, plasticizers, xenoestrogens we're being exposed to? Hormonally, what's happening? Is it predisposing people to ovarian cancers and breast cancers? We know that, yeah, but like, is it getting worse? So now I'm hearing this, and it's like everyone should be taking care of detoxifying microplastics. It is a thing that we need to be focusing on now. And I just when I think of sulforaphane, I think of estrogen, hormonal detox. Never really thought about microplastics. So it's pretty incredible that you guys saw that, and that's unfolding. A lot of women with acne, PMS, painful periods. Is that the mechanism right there? The detoxification into a healthy, balanced estrogen through sulforaphane?
It's one of them, but
Yeah, I think all the estrogen related issues that are going on can be tied back to very simplistically back to estrogen. And so I think probably some framing there is really important, like especially recently, all of the negatives that were associated with estrogen have kind of slowly been degrading over time, like the hormone replacement theory and that really super long study that said breast cancer increased with taking hormone replacement therapy. It wasn't framed correctly because, like right now we have 1 in 7 or 1 in 8 women will get breast cancer. In that study, taking hormone replacement therapy was 1 in 10,000. So it's not even in the realm. It's true because they studied 500,000 people, very statistically significant, but it isn't the driver that we all think it is. And so when you take just estrogen off the top of the mound saying estrogen bad, it's actually the metabolism of estrogen that makes it bad. So the same ways that a lot of different catechols, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, there's catecholamines. They're detoxed the same way that estrogen is, and so we could do a whole hour talk on what happens with estrogen, but there's bad estrogen metabolites and there's good estrogen metabolites. And so, like the good aspect of the estrogen metabolites is the horse urine version of it. You take estrogen metabolites from urine and it can be anti-estrogen, can help certain conditions. But really we want the pure estrogen, even, and I would say I think the most striking stuff I've ran into recently is the longevity studies that are showing that even in males, if you take a small amount of estrogen, you increase longevity. And so estrogen is this amazing compound that helps women make a fertile window where they are healthy, happy, make a baby, raise it, make solid human beings. So that estrogen is a big part of that, and amazingly beautiful. And then as that signal goes away, all the chronic diseases that are associated with menopause, they're protected before that. And then when estrogen declines, their health actually exceeds the rate of decline of men to where they catch up to them in those like next 5-10 years. So estrogen is super protective. It's a good guy and it's the bad guys. There's ones that make the quinones that make DNA adducts. There's ones that bind to the estrogen receptor and just turn it on fully all the time. That's the we can talk about the actual ones, but I assume that not everybody's interested in the whole array of estrogens. But it's good to know that you can, the same detox that makes sulforaphane amazing for every form of detox is actually also detoxing estrogen.
The bad estrogen metabolites.
Yeah, and so the estrogen quinone, that was probably one that most people would run into at some point.
Yeah.
Quinones make it able to make DNA adducts in your genome because it goes into the genome and turns things on. But if it's an estrogen quinone, that can make a double-strand break and purine metabolism and all that kind of stuff. So bad. And NRF2, so sulforaphane, NRF2 turns on a gene called NQO1. It's like a major target that a lot of people study. That's a quinone oxidase that actually inactivates the estrogen quinone. So it's taking care of one of those bad guys.
What drives those estrogen quinones? Is it poor diet? Is it the microplastics? What's really driving that pathway?
Good question.
Yeah, quinolation is dependent on reactive oxygen species. So if you have a bottled up lysosome that's not able to get rid of misfolded proteins and it's the whole system is messed up, for sure you have more reactive oxygen species. And then it's going to be pushed down that pathway more. And I like wrestling with the parts that are hard to navigate, and so sometimes getting into the middle of the difficult to understand parts makes clarity. And one of them is that I had a difficult time with because it's in one of our products is EGCG. EGCG is this amazing molecule for many, many different things. It's ancient Chinese medicine. It's amazing in many ways. But one of the things it does is blocks COMT, catechol methyltransferase. So that's a catechol-related molecule. And so turning that off would seem to be like a bad thing. Like, I don't want to do that. But it turns out if you're taking sulforaphane, even that prevents that estrogen metabolite from making quinones. And so if you take both of them together, the bad parts of the EGCG are protected by the sulforaphane. So we say the first thing that you should take from our lab is sulforaphane, and because it's this blanket layer, it does so many things. It's protective. So when you go start doing other things like try and do weight loss or whatever else your goals are, it's actually a protective layer for some of the things, the active compounds that are in our other ones that if you just drink green tea, you'd never have that effect. You wouldn't block COMT. But ours is like 256-fold increase in EGCG bioavailability. Like now that actually becomes a player.
So wait, let me just get this clear. Synergistically, for people drinking green tea in the mornings or matcha in the mornings, it's better when they pair it with sulforaphane?
For sure.
What's an analogy for people to understand? Why is it so good to pair them together?
So we always try to make connections to exercise, I think. So think of, I hope this analogy works, but say you are a young person and you exercise. One of the things that happens is you exercise, and because you're young and virile, you actually make a lot of NRF2. And so a lot of the benefits you see as a young person is from exercise is that you turn on the same gene that sulforaphane does. Protects you from all kinds of stuff. You don't see any chronic diseases in young people because they have the metabolism intact and they're exercising. As you get older, it's harder to exercise, and then if you do and you exercise a little bit too much, actually NRF2 goes down. And so in that case, exercise is bad when I'm 55. Like if I overdo it, and you can feel it, it hurts. But if you did sulforaphane and exercised, you get the NRF2 going up, and then you're actually being protected from the stress that's part of exercise. So it's a way of thinking about it. I'm sure you've probably had people on talking about hormetic stress. So exercise is one that most people understand, and so that's a way of you need stress, but what's too much? Well, it depends on you.
So are we saying that the green tea matcha is stressful in itself?
The sulforaphane is, right. It's so if you think about a broccoli plant and a bug trying to eat it, it makes it breaks the cell wall, makes sulforaphane. It's going back to why your partner doesn't like broccoli sprout. It's nasty.
Yeah.
And so it is, but it does provide hormetic stress. But I mean, going back to the question about the tea, so basically, I mean, one of the ways we always try to think about bioavailability and how to get more of these lipid-soluble, fat-soluble compounds through the gut barrier. So, EGCG and sulforaphane. So sulforaphane can help smuggle that good molecule in the green tea through the gut barrier. And that's why, in our Berberine product, it's sulforaphane and it's berberine. We also have a way that John came up with, but where we bind it to this unique molecule that we create. It's a plant-based protein and a sea-based carbohydrate that's combined, and then we can add EGCG or berberine to it, and that's the 250 times more bioavailable than regular green tea that he was talking about.
Amazing. What I'm hearing is that Mara Labs is really putting the standard on bioavailability, and
so getting the compounds to the cells in an amount that moves the needle on the biology.
Yeah.
So we're trying to stay ahead of everybody else, but when you get EGCG able to go into those levels, then you can see you have to look forward to the things that it could possibly harm with. So EGCG, because it blocks COMT, it benefits dopamine. So that feels really good. Your dopamine lasts longer. Dopamine is also quinolated, so the NQO1 from some sulforaphane makes it last longer. You block COMT, you're getting a big dopamine hit that actually feels really well. And try to be aware of that when you're taking these things. Take sulforaphane, it feels good. EGCG, that's very bioavailable, feels good. But together, they are especially good because even something that could be detrimental, meaning it's blocking COMT, so it could partially mess up your estrogen metabolism, is actually blocked by sulforaphane, and that's kind of what I was getting at before. But the combination is better than just the original.
Cool.
And so metabolism is such a big topic.
Yeah.
But it is nice to know that you have to anticipate when you get a lot more of the molecule into your circulation, it's going to have real therapeutic effects, but you have to stay ahead of it. Like, would I take just plain EGCG? Sure. I mean, it has a whole bunch of benefits that are amazing, but if you can block all of the possible negatives as well by taking sulforaphane and EGCG together, let's do it.
I love that. I love that combo synergistically, because you're looking at someone who finishes their morning walk, does a little stretching. While I'm stretching, warming up the milk for the matcha, make a little matcha every morning. I'm a matcha wild man. I look for the best matcha in the industry. I look for the lowest heavy metals. We do matcha shows once a year. So it's always wonderful to know, okay, now I'll take my matcha, open up the broccoli, take 2-3 caps. 2-3? What's the dose here for a 190-pound man?
You can do 2.
2.
Yeah,
okay.
1 or 2 works. We do more but we own the company. So
2 caps. Go upstairs, meditate. I'll feel my lysosomes opened up. Oxygen species go down, and then that's the code right there for long health. Okay, Berberine. Ozempic is hot. People love Ozempic. You've seen those numbers. People are buying Ozempic left and right. And on one side, people are like, it's a miracle. It's so helpful for people. Obesity epidemic is going down. And then the other side, people are concerned about a few things. And then we said it.
Is the obesity epidemic going down?
That's a good question. That's a good question. But people were saying, like we said on the rapid fire, Berberine is the new Ozempic. And I know, David, you said no. But what does Berberine do so special in the body that it really helps our metabolism to that level? Why is it such a special compound?
Yeah, I mean, I'll let John rest his voice for a little bit. So basically, it does a lot. Berberine does a lot. In fact, we found out about Berberine sort of late in the game, after Maura died, whereas a lot of these other compounds we knew beforehand. And so basically, it turns on. I think the central thing is it turns something on called AMP kinase. Which is sort of a metabolism regulator, and so when you fast, AMP kinase turns on, AMP kinase, and so Berberine can mimic the benefits of fasting, and interestingly enough, we created Berberine to help with ketosis. So, with cancer patients, a lot of them do keto diet. Mm-hmm. It's super good at basically using ketones as fuel as opposed to glucose. And so we were big into the ketogenic diet, and then we find this Berberine, and it's like a game changer, because what it does is if you eat a sugary meal, you take some Berberine, and it blunts the glucose spike. So that in and of itself is huge, because that helps with when you get those spikes, you can get cravings later. You can, because of dopamine. I want sugar.
Yeah.
You can get tired, and so it blunts that. But it also is great. I mean, when we were developing it, I was trying to get testimonials, so I've emailed everybody who'd bought it. I was like, why do you use it? What are you seeing? And 75% of the people came back and said, we use it for sleep. And I'm like, what is this? And had no idea. So I went to PubMed, Googled it, and I'm searching, and I find this paper showing, it basically says Berberine outperforms Valium as a sleep aid. Mm. And there's a mouse study, but it's still we're reading it, and so it basically turns on, increases serotonin 30%, increases dopamine 25%, and so that's why it's in our sleep mood product, because it also impacts your mood. So, but we say basically to take it before bed, because a lot of people eat late, and so once nighttime falls, it gets dark, your melatonin turns on, well, your insulin production is arrested, it stops. And so if you eat late, you more times than not can have a decent amount of glucose left in your blood. So you take Berberine, and it can deal with that. So you're not just, that glucose, the sugar, it can cause inflammation. We come from a cancer-centric view of things, and cancer loves glucose, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you deal with that and get it put into the muscle, it's helpful. Mm. But I will also say, one of the N of 1 tests John did on himself, he eats regular, the same every day. He's like a machine. And so he does these multi-day tests, and he basically ate dinner, didn't eat overnight, took 2 berberines, our berberites, in the morning, and then skipped breakfast, and then measured his blood glucose and ketone levels. By noon, he was in a low-level ketosis. And so that's really regular Berberine. It takes about 3 weeks for that impact. It works, but it has to accumulate, right? With ours, it gets through the gut and impacts your blood glucose and your ketone levels in 4 hours.
Amazing. And one of the most important pieces being it absorbs and it doesn't get to the colon, because a lot of people, whenever I spoke about Berberine, will say, yes, but it destroys your gut microbiome. if berberine got to the colon, would that be problematic in itself?
I'm sure it depends on your state of your microbiome, but
Yeah.
any disturbance of it can have a whole chain reaction. The whole trophic web. There's multiple layers there, and you just never know. It's kind of a crapshoot. So you will know if you feel like your colon get messed up. That feels pretty rotten.
Yeah.
You'll know.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily 100%.
Yeah.
So
But not all berberines are created equal.
Right,
You guys
exactly.
are saying. There's
Yes.
a lot of berberines you could look online right now, go on Amazon, go on Google. Not all created equal.
Right. Yeah, and if we refer back to, the testing I did on cells that I put in culture, I kind of perfected that really early on, and tried to start a company to do that as a service, but couldn't figure out how to do that sort of and make a company out of it. But I learned a lot from it, and one of them was I would put berberine on cells, but it's so insoluble, it shows up as not working.
Yeah.
It won't even go in solution no matter what you do. It's incredibly difficult to get in solution. So that's part of the benefit of the carrier that we did, is it makes it soluble, and then delivering it to the lining of the intestine in a strategic way, gets it right into the cell. Then the cell is able to pass it off to albumin, and then it's distributed through your whole body the way it's supposed to. And so it's just, it has so many things different than just taking berberine that it shouldn't even be classified as the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's maybe in its own name, berberine
Yeah.
plus or something like that.
Right.
So for viewers and listeners, if they're suffering with something, I know you can't just say this will cure this, but what would berberine be indicated for people who want to go and buy the Mara Labs berberine?
Yeah, the one in Gel Perfect or
Yeah.
the standalone?
The standalone one.
So the standalone one does induce GLP-1. So that's the thing that Ozempic is mimicking. But it is the actual hormone. So it's producing GLP-1. It goes to your brain and does a lot of the things that Ozempic does. It turns off hunger hormones. It affects your digestion in a way that you don't feel as hungry. Jumping back to EGCG, that blocks ghrelin, so that's actually the hunger hormone, so you don't get hungry, and then you also affect digestion. And berberine, in my mind, is basically like fasting in a pill. It's turning on the actual pathway that is sensing the ratio of ATP to AMP. So when you don't eat enough, it turns on AMP kinase, and that's a lot of the benefits from fasting come from that. And so berberine alone is central feature in satiety and de novo lipogenesis. It's in the middle of so many pathways that have to do with adiposity that it's hard to list them all. I tried and have a document where I made all the known handles for fat, and there's 26 of them. And so berberine alone probably affects more than half of those. And then I tried to make the formulation in a way that hits all 26. So we actually are substantially affecting all 26 handles of adiposity.
When it comes to, so then a formula like that would be indicated for someone who wants to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, so just to back up too, so if you're for the berberine alone, standalone, if you are anti-ketosis, it's a great tool. If you want to improve your sleep, it's a great tool. If you eat late, it's a great tool. But yeah, we have berberine in our Gel Perfect. So our business partner, who's an MD, he's like, all these people are coming to me asking for a GLP-1, for Ozempic, and he doesn't just do. He's like one of the few doctors who won't just prescribe them.
Yeah.
And so basically, we wanted to come up with something. A lot of people come off of Ozempic, right? And either because it's expensive and they lose their insurance, or they feel bad, or there's just a whole slew of reasons. And so we wanted something that could move the needle on potentially weight loss, but not in the same way as a GLP-1 like Ozempic. And so, like as John mentioned, the biggest thing people notice, they won't notice their blood sugar typically, but they'll notice they're not hungry. And Ozempic decreases your cravings, but it's because it slows your motility down. And so you keep your food in your gut longer, which is not a good thing if you think about it. We're talking about cancer.
Yeah.
If you don't want things standing in your gut that long. And so and with Ozempic, people can get nauseous, and just that's another reason they don't eat. And so with GeoPerfect, you're not hungry, but you can eat. And that's a big difference. So it can help with snacking, for instance, and the nervous snacking. But it also has alpha lipoic acid in it, which we didn't make, but it's one of the supplements. I say it's sort of the unsung hero. You don't hear a lot about it, but it's a fantastic supplement.
Yeah, yeah. Alpha lipoic acid is like a OG in the space, and it hasn't been celebrated for everything that it's possible to do. But I remember hearing about it when I was in high school, and I would go to GNC, and they're like, "Oh, you need to be on alpha lipoic acid if you want to get ripped for spring break."
Oh, wow.
So it was really interesting. But yeah, so the two formulas that have berberine are the Berberine and the GLP-1.
GeoPerfect.
GLP-Perfect. What's the difference?
Well, GeoPerfect has Berberine just has berberine and sulforaphane. GeoPerfect has berberine, but it's made bioavailable by binding it to our protein. Okay, and then it also has EGCG, which is made bioavailable by binding to this our carrier molecule. It's a protein plus a carbohydrate. And then it has alpha lipoic acid. So it has three ingredients. Alpha lipoic acid and berberine are analogous in driving blood sugar, AMP kinase, the EGCG. So the berberine and alpha lipoic acid are good for decreasing sugar cravings and blood sugar spikes. The EGCG is great at decreasing the hunger hormone ghrelin, so that you're not needing to snack.
Yeah, yeah. For, like you said, all the people who like nervous snacking or just unconsciously snacking.
Correct.
They're getting all these calories coming in without even knowing it.
Yeah.
So then another thing that we haven't brought up yet, but was really central when I was kind of researching for what to do, is the weight loss that you get on Ozempic is muscle. It can be as much as 40% of the weight loss can be muscle, and that's hard-made muscles. It takes a lot of effort to increase
Big time.
muscle mass, and for it to just wipe out all that progress is just terrible. And so, like we were saying before, one of our other partners he's actually an exercise performance expert, and he was really upset about that loss. And so that was his input to it, was that we really need to take care of that. And so we actually have this whole angle that I don't think we've talked that much about it. And it's
like this.
It's so one of the components of EGCG that we have is called epicatechin. So it's always a mixture. So the epicatechin doesn't have the gallate molecules on them, but it's the only known binder of myostatin. So it directly binds myostatin, and so stimulates muscle growth. And so we're combating the muscle loss directly with an agonist. And then it turns out sulforaphane and berberine both transcriptionally decrease myostatin. So by two different mechanisms, it's getting at muscle development. You probably know the whole satellite cells and getting them recruited to muscle. And so it's actually doing what vigorous exercise is supposed to do. And we haven't done this test yet, but if you did the correct training and took the myostatin inhibitor, you should be able to put muscle on more quickly.
Wow. Okay. You got me at the right time. The January goal is a 4-pound weight loss and keeping my muscle.
Yeah.
Nice.
So now I know I am starting tomorrow morning. Okay. Tomorrow morning. What's the best time to take the berberine and the GLP-1?
So the GLP-1 I like in the morning.
Geo Perfect.
Gel
GL
perfect.
Perfect.
So
Sorry,
now I'm
we're so
starting
used to
mix
calling
things
it the GL Perfect. Morning?
So morning, and the reason is that EGCG can be a stimulant, and so probably like the matcha tea.
Yeah.
You want to take that in the morning or early afternoon, however your sensitivities are, and then after that it can be, especially in some people, can be stimulating. So in that case, I do that in the morning. Berberine is not the same. If you wanted to,
You can take them one in the morning, one in the evening.
so that you could, if you wanted to stack it, you could do Gel Perfect in the morning, do Berber Elite in the afternoon, and then do Sleep Elite before bed. And
I
you
love
could
the
actually
Sleep
do
Elite.
that whole stack.
People don't know I'm taking a Sleep Elite. I just started it for 2 weeks, and I'm knocked out.
Oh yeah, it's
I'm
good.
talking about drool on the pillow, and my neck is in one position, the one I fell asleep on. Knocked out.
Wake up in the same
I
position.
wake in the
That's
same
so good.
position. My shoulder's hurting. I was like, whoa, okay, I feel good.
Do you do any sleep monitoring?
No,
Okay.
because I had an Aura ring, but I don't know what happened with. Oh, it got too small. So yeah, I need to get one. I need to get a new one. Have you tried anything at home?
Yeah, I mean, we both have different monitoring and noticed improvements. Yeah, for sure.
Amazing.
Both with the monitors, but also qualitatively. It's just like I'll take 2 before bed, and I'll keep 1 by my bed. So if I wake up in the middle of the night, usually I'll keep a broccoli and a sleep elite, and regardless of whether if I get up to go to the bathroom or whatever, I just take those 2, and that sleep from like 2 to like 6. It's another level. It's like the best sleep.
Really?
It's like I wake up after that, and I'm like, oh, that was the best. But we've also had testimonials of people who were addicted to like sleep meds, who have and people who are addicted to sleep meds, they never kind of get that same sleep again, and that's sort of the addictive piece. We have had 3 different people say that the sleep lead has gotten to them that the same quality sleep as their sleep meds.
Wow. Okay. All right. That's incredible. The fact that what I really feel into it from the beginning, and I know I've been having before you guys came on, is that this is a really therapeutically dosed, absorbable. It's like if there was ever a pharmaceutical company as a supplement company, it's like it works. It works. And I know that a lot of supplements don't work because I've been reviewing a lot of the industry for many years. And I've seen it for myself and my partner. I've seen it on her skin immediately. So I'm excited for the viewers and listeners. Go check it out. If you're suffering with anything we spoke about on the show, go check it out. We have a discount for everyone listening to the show, viewing and listening to the show. I want you to go to the show notes. There's a link right there. You get the full discount on all of the products across the board. And man, I just got to tell you both, like, I'm so excited. I love this duo, like it's the perfect synergy. And for me, what connects me most to the company is what it's built on and the name. And now I understand. I didn't know the name was connected to the whole story. So there's so much passion and purpose and science and also just heart all together. So I just want to shout you both out for the work you're both doing. It's incredible.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we want people to feel free to try the products, and so we give a 100-day money-back guarantee, no questions asked, and so give it a try. We want to take the burden off. If you don't, and some people, they don't notice it, and that's fine. We'll give you your money back, but a lot of people benefit from taking.
Amazing stuff. I want to thank you both. I love this interview. I learned so much. The matcha, now I know what I'm putting next to my matcha bottle in the morning. And I'm so excited to try the full spectrum. I'm getting on the Berberine stuff, the GL Perfect. I'm going to get on it and really track and be the end of one person. I'm very consistent with everything. So let's just see where that goes, and I'll report right back. But thank you both for being on the show and instilling your wisdom.
Thanks so much for having us. It's really fun to talk to you.
Yeah, it's exactly what we want to do, is get it into people's hands so they can see it. Like, we put a lot of effort into it, and we really want to get it into the person like you that can appreciate, that little bit of boost that gets them to the gym, out for a walk in the sunshine.
Amazing. Thank you both.
Thanks.
Awesome.